Scott Sigler. Scott motherfucking Sigler.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
Hello.
Good. Got to introduce Scott Sigler to Jack Frost of Seven Witches and, you know, a million other bands, and Rich Catino. Scott Sigler, I don't know what to say about Scott. I've known Scott for a really long time, but the guy's conquered the world since we first met. It's a you know, truly an impressive. So I mean, the guy's taken over, been best-selling author, the longest running fiction podcast, and has played, like I was telling these guys before you joined, he's actually played bass on stage at the Padres baseball stadium. The guy's So J.R. Murdock just shouted, "It's the FDO" in the comments. But so Scott, I'm not going to talk for you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Super fun to be here. I've been writing my ass off all day, and as soon as I finish with this, I go try and record some more music. So, living the dream, man. Write all day, try and muddle around with a little bit of music as a hobby at night, and just hang out in this COVID world and try not to die.
And Southern California too. I mean, it's like you know,
yeah, we've got fires due east of us that we've got warnings. Have your go bag ready to go. Be ready to go on like 20 minutes notice. So it's very exciting.
How far are you? How many miles from the fires?
Gosh, it's not all that far. I think we're within 30 miles of one of the fires, if I have that right. But it also, for it to get to where we are, it would have to cross over a lot of very developed land, and it seems improbable that that would get through there. So right now, it's still burning in the wildfire areas, the wilder areas. And our sky is starting to turn colors up here. It's not as bad as it is in Oregon or San Francisco or the Bay Area, but it's getting there.
Madness. Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah. But you know, you've got your legions. I'm sure they'll all lay themselves down in front of the fire and give you a chance to escape. I mean, Scott literally has legions. He's got a massive following. Like,
we get a hardcore bunch of really, really good, really, really cool people who love the stuff that we put out. And we stream for them twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific time, because so many of our fans are cooped up and can't get out, or they are laid off, or they can't go into work. So we're trying to do our part to we're in the entertainment business. You know, we're not literary wonderkins or however people measure things. We're in the business of making people happy and taking people away from their trouble. So we're trying to do that twice a week, which has turned out to be a lot of work, but also pretty fun.
Nice. Actually, J.R. Murdock says he'll be a fire break for the FDO. So there you go. We got one. Yeah, he's going to join us in a little bit too. But yeah, so Scott, I mean, just for people who don't know you, I mean, you know, fuck them if they don't know you. But you know, tell them. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, tell people all about. I'm going to again not put words in your mouth. I of course found you through Earthcore, but talk to people about all the amazing, you know, places you've been. I mean, I know you got the Rookie series, which is amazing. And of course, the Ancestor, and of course Perry Dossie. So tell everybody.
I'll give people the rundown. I started out in 2005 podcasting my novels for free because I couldn't get published. I've been trying to get published for like 10 years at that point. So self-record my own audiobooks. Happened to be working for a company that did NPR style news programs for Fortune 500 companies. So they worked with Sun Microsystems and Apple and HP and companies like that. And so I had a recording studio there, and I would go in at 3:00 in the morning and record my own audiobooks and learn how to create an RSS feed podcast, and wound up giving away 5 unabridged full-length audiobooks before I caught a deal with, I had a book out with Dragon Moon Press called Ancestor, then one called Earthcore, and then Ancestor. And I've got a marketing background. So for Ancestor, I figured out how to get everybody to bum rush the iTunes charts. And we were #1 in iTunes, and we were #1 in Amazon, in all fiction except for a Harry Potter novel. So we're #1 in horror, #1 in sci-fi, #2 overall. That got New York's attention. And then there was a little bit of a bidding war for my book Infected. That sold to Random House. And then since then, that came out in 2007. And kind of achieved the rock and roll dream, but through writing books. So I've been a full-time writer since 2008. Continue to give away everything I've ever written for free. We give away unabridged episode every Sunday. at scottsigler.com/subscribe. You can subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, any number of things. And as my dad said, you dance with the one that brought you. So we continue to take care of our hardcore fan base, the ones who drove that book to #1 and got me the deal with Random House. And although the overall, the overall literary star has faded a bit, we're very happy with our diehard, crazy fans who love everything that we put out, and we do everything we can to take care of them. So my books are on Amazon. Go look for me, Scott Sigler, at Amazon. You go to scottsigler.com/books, see all the great stuff we have available. And also we do really well on Audible. So we record the audiobooks. This voice is on some of them. We have other narrators on other books. And that is the wave of the future. Audiobooks is where it's at for writers these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, look at these glasses. I agree. Yeah, audiobooks are the future. But you got a couple of, like, I know that any creative person resists categorization, but definitely horror. Definitely, that's a huge piece of it. So, Rich is a huge horror buff. So, I mean, I think lots of blood, lots of guts, but also.
And that was one of the biggest problems I had when I was starting out. Back then, in the early 2000s, late 1990s, publishers wanted, okay, is this horror? Meaning, is it Stephen King's Supernatural? Is this sci-fi? Meaning, are these spaceships? Is this military? Meaning, Green Berets, etc. And my stuff had all of those things, plus a lot of fart jokes. So the question I kept getting asked is, well, what shelf do we put it on? And this is before a lot of the real, now hybrid authors are a thing, or authors where cross genre is a much, much bigger deal than it was back then. So being able to just go out and cater directly to the audience with blood and guts, with science fiction, with horror, with military SF, all that stuff combined into modern day stories, I was able to get the audience, but translating that over to what the publishers could understand was difficult until we did the thing where we did really well on Amazon. And that was before ebooks too, which people have a hard time remembering now because ebooks are everywhere now. But we were #1 in horror, #1 sci-fi when it was a trade paperback at $15 a pop. And that was, at that time, was a big deal. People still do really well figuring out how to push their ebooks, which is magic I haven't figured out yet. But back then, we figured it out in the environment we were competing in, and here we are.
And you even got Tony Mast in the comments says, I was waiting each week for Earthcore the first time on pod. Yeah.
That was the crazy thing, is when we started out, there were two other gentlemen who had kind of figured out the same thing I did, which is, okay, if I make this a digital audiobook and serialize it with a podcast, I've got global English language distribution for free. If the content's good, eventually people are going to start sharing that on bulletin boards and IM, etc. And if the content is good and it's the right book at the right time for the right people, it could go exponential. And that is what happened. But Mark Jeffries was one with a Popular Independent, and the other who was just on the show, I believe, was T. Morris with Moravi. One of the interesting things is their books were already out in print, and mine wasn't because I hadn't been published. And when Earthcore was out, which is the book your viewer was talking about, when Earthcore came out, the only way you could get it was every week as it came out. And this was when 24 was big and when Lost was big. And it was like an audio version of that. So people were on cliffhanger every week and it drove them batty. So they would be tuning in every Sunday to see what the next, it was just like 40s or 50s radio dramas. And that wound up being a weird advantage for us that they couldn't get the story anywhere. They had to tune every week. And then that kind of helped create the relationship with the fans. My voice was in their ears every week. They couldn't cheat and go buy the book and listen to That's the Story. And it was an accident, but it wound up being huge. It was the whole reason I have a career right now, is because we didn't have a book out in print.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, Scott, but this isn't about you. This is about me. All right. So, no, I'm kidding, of course. I'm kidding, of course. No. But I mean, I was going to say, it just made me think I have to drop this in. Because I have a bunch more questions about you have so much cool shit going on, Scott. I want to get to it, but I do want to. One of our stretch goals for Am I Evil, even though it's a comic book, even though it's a graphic novel, we're going to do an audiobook. So we're going to get back into that because I miss it. I have a great nostalgia and fondness for those early days of Mark when there were only a few of us doing this. I mean, I was not in that first wave, but I can't tell you guys what a big deal Scott Sigler's books were. I mean, he just kind of led. And of course, not that takes nothing away from T. T was it still is a giant. He was absolutely giant.
Everybody brought a little different something into the mix for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, and of course it had to be good. I mean, and it also says something I think about. I mean, music, bands talk about getting signed and that kind of thing, and authors say like, "Oh, I'm not getting published." Like this guy, like I said, has conquered the world. You're saying like, "Oh, I couldn't get the book published." Obviously, there's a market. Obviously, you've been doing this, and obviously, and I can attest. And one of the things I said when I interviewed you in like 2006 or something was, there's lots of blood and guts. There's that appeal for people who are just like want to see blood and guts, but it's also these are like I was expecting, honestly, when I read Earthcore or listened to it, I was expecting, okay, this is going to be a mindless splatterfest for fun. But no, it's smart. I mean, there's a lot of research. This guy does the research and knows what the fuck he's talking about. So my hat is off to you for that, Scott. I mean,
largely it's been described in different ways, but like, speed metal in book form was one of them that was out there. It's just, T called it a steel tip boot on your throat. And that was just the relentless, we were there every week, without fail, no matter what was going on in my life. Like I was in the waiting room at a hospital writing that week's episode of my father-in-law was passing, just because we had made the commitment. It was absolutely getting the fucking van style approach, but bringing that to the literary side. And for all my years of aspiring to be in bands and trying to find people who would understand the amount of work it takes to be successful in music, which I was never able to put together. Once you've discovered the book part and the audiobook part, which you're going to get back into, it's like, this is just you, man. This is just, you're a solo artist. And the only thing stopping you from putting stuff out every week and getting up on stage in front of people is can you commit to it every week? That's something that we were able to do early on. So this is so you can record the book. Is that right?
Well, the goal is, if we make the stretch goal, then yeah, of course, the first and foremost people are going to get digital comic is going to be the first thing they get. And then of course we want to do a print edition, but yeah, then the next stretch goal, or, we've got a whole bunch of stretch goals. One of them will be that I'll do an audio script of it, that it will come out, and it's again the story of the song "Am I Evil?"
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that is one of the goals. And again, just going back to, it's been a little while since I did that, but it's just I'm really hoping we get there. One of the stretch goals also, I'm going to shave this shit off. So
wow, good on you.
Yeah,
that's good.
My wife has just donated $10,000. Actually,
I want to say something so bad right now, but I just can't.
Go for it. There's no kids watching.
I can't. I'm going to be nice. It's really dirty, actually. I'm not going to say it.
Well, Scott, are you going to be offended if he says a dirty joke? I don't know.
I think so. Anybody who's read my books know I will be offended by now.
I didn't think it would bother Scott or Rich. I just, your wife's there. I got to be nice.
No, you're all clear. Yeah, I mean, it's Scott and I. We've been to some cons together. We've seen some shit.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't want you to shave it. I kind of like that when it rub my balls against it. Sorry, I just couldn't. It just.
Well, it's Jack, because it's so small. I have to get in really far. That's the problem. That's why.
I'm pretty old. My balls ain't small.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night. That's
Wow. Wow.
Sorry, guys.
But Scott, can I tell? I promise I'm not setting you up. You can say no, but I have a great drunken Scott story. Can I tell a drunken Scott story?
Go right ahead.
Right. So we were at Dragon Con. I think you had the party suite, right? The party suite.
Yeah,
Scott was just
had the party.
we were all like, everybody was drunk out of their minds. It was a fun night. Scott was really, really like. Like I said, there are no stories about night number one. But night number two, that's the hangover night. Like, we're all kind of like filtering back in. We're all like holding our heads and filtering back in. Scott and I are talking to each other. He's got this big solo cup full. I was like, "Oh, you're drinking water tonight." I said, "That's smart." He's like, "No, this is vodka." The solo cup was completely full. And then like a half an hour later, I don't even know how you got yourself wedged in there. There's the TV cabinet. Between the TV cabinet and the ceiling, Scott was on top of there, yelling at everyone in the room, like to get into the music, like singing along with whatever was playing on the radio. It's such a I was like, how does he do this? How is he surviving this? I can't believe it.
all my friends who are all significantly larger than I am. I'm a very tiny human. That is a question that they have asked many times, which is how have you survived this long with your diminutive frame and your verbosity and your insistence on starting shit with people? How are you alive? And I don't really know. So I'm happy I made it through that night. Happy I made it through many, many nights.
Yeah. And
what are you drinking right now, though? That's what we want to know.
yeah.
This is Macallan 12. I have it's great. I love it. I having had a rambunctious youth, as many of us have, there are only two kinds of alcohol that I can remember not really damaging myself on, waking up the next day and being like, I ain't never doing that shit again. And that's sake and like really good scotch, which, really good scotch was not something that crossed my path as a youth. So now I'm like, well, that's wonderful and delicious. And it turns out pretty good. And then I married an ex-bartender, and she's very good at mixing drinks. So between sake, scotch, and cocktails, we're dialed in.
Yeah, that's the Siglocktails, right? That you guys are doing. That's a thing. That's part of what they do. Yeah, I mean, I encourage everyone to check out the mayhem and the fun that Scott and A are doing. You alluded to it earlier, the streaming shows.
We're streaming while people are locked up in COVID. We're streaming every Tuesday and Thursday. You can watch at twitch.tv/Scott Sigler, youtube.com/Scott Sigler, or facebook.com/Scott Sigler. 6 p.m. PT every Tuesday, every Thursday. We have no idea what we're doing, but the sound is dialed in pretty good, and that makes me happy. And then we just kind of wing it and take fun stuff from the chat room. Right now, we're doing the greatest sports movies of all time tournament, a 32 team tournament, single elimination with people, just fans coming on and voting for the movies they like, and eventually, there's no sports right now. I know they're coming back, but I'm a big sports head too. So now the NFL season is starting, I got to do something about that Thursday night. I totally forgot there's Thursday night football coming up, and now and they're like, what have I done to myself? Oh my God. So
that's right. Scott's a Lions fan. So
yeah, sad. It's sad.
Why you say it like that? Matthew Stafford is like one of the greatest quarterbacks. He gets no respect, man. Unfortunately, I'm a Eli Manning fan. Okay. I'm not a Giants fan anymore. I'm an Eli Manning fan. But I love Matthew. I wish we got Matthew Stafford when I was hoping we got him.
I don't get a lot of the bagging on Eli. I know Eli has a whiny face. I get it. He also has 2 Super Bowl rings. I mean, come on, the dude.
Hey, dude, he's got 2 of the greatest passes ever thrown in the history of. Like, I mean, say what you want about it. People are like, oh, Eli. I'm like, he can still go up to the GOAT and go like this and go. I always say this. You know it, and you know it that his wife always looks at Brady and goes, he just couldn't beat Eli, could you? That's good. That's it. Nice. That's it. That's all.
It's good for Brady to have that one thing. He's like, yep, for all the accomplishments and all the hard work and all the glory. Like, you're right. Eli had his number. So there you go.
That's it. And you know what, dude? I think it's really cool. We don't really know each other, but I think it's great that you're doing the favorite 30 movies of all times. And I'm a huge, I mean, yeah, I'm a musician, but I'm a huge sports freak.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I could. Draft Day's on, Invincible's on.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. I will stop what I do, and I'll watch it 800,000 times. The Kevin Costner movie where he's the baseball pitcher.
Yeah, Field of Dreams, yeah.
Oh, not that one. The other one where he literally. The greatest. You know what I'm talking about.
Bull Durham.
What?
Bull Durham.
Not Bull Durham either. This is the one where.
He's got one more?
He's got one game where he literally goes through his whole life in one game where he pitches a perfect game and he's going to retire. Like, you never seen this movie?
I don't think so.
He's on the mound for 9 innings and he's going to retire after this game, and he pitches the perfect game and he's like in his 40s. It's
for the love of the game.
For the love of the game.
Oh, it's a Sam Raimi movie too. Holy crap. Okay.
Dude, that movie is like
Sam
one of the
Raimi.
greatest.
Sam Raimi's good.
It's great.
Okay. Wow, and plus he's pitching for the Tigers during that movie apparently.
Yeah, it's crazy. Hey guys, I'm in the middle of editing something now, and I have to call the guy to help me. I don't want to leave, but I wish everybody the best with this, man.
Thanks for being part of this.
Amazing.
Yeah.
If I can help you guys with anything for this, just ask Jack and Rich. You know that anytime.
Yeah, no, you're the best, Jack. We really appreciate it. Appreciate you.
From it, but
Awesome being on the same.
you too,
Thank you very
man.
much.
And get ready football Thursday night, baby. Good guys.
It's
All
coming.
right, peace out, man.
Much
Thanks.
love. Bye, guys.
Later.
All right.
Bye.
See.
Let me say hi to the infamous J.R. Murdock a little bit before I jet, because I am in the middle of trying to learn how to map and drum kit in Logic. So I got some music stuff that I'm behind on. But J.R. Murdock, how the hell are you? Sorry, Jack. I'm going to interview J.R. Murdock now. J.R., how you been?
Scott Sigler, it has been an incredible year. Unfortunately, the pandemic hit. I was hoping to be there for the release of the next GFL novel, and freaking pandemic threw the whole thing off. And it's all because you named a book Pandemic. It's all your damn fault.
I'll tell you guys what, you want to hear some crazy shit. So like our primary business now is audiobooks. That is where we're home, and we've been trying to figure out how to market ebooks, but there's something, the ebook thing doesn't really connect with the GFL series, which is what we control. So we are coming up with GFL book 6, and granted, we are about a year behind bringing that to market. Welcome to publishing. This is how it works. We got a notice yesterday that although we've already sold, I think, like 1,800 copies of the book, the very expensive hardcover pre-sale, and we've got all that money, our printer went out of business due to COVID.
Oh,
we got it yesterday. So my business partner / wife has been working on like getting everything dialed in to send it to the printers to get the thing printed. And now R.R. Donnelly has gone out of business. Now, our insistence on having the books printed in an American-made printing plant is in jeopardy because I believe there's only one left that can handle it. So A's in the middle of working on it. Man, what a bite in the ass.
No kidding. There's going to be a lot of businesses that are going to go out because of this pandemic. They're already estimating that something like 40% of the businesses in Chula Vista will go out of business because they've literally been closed since March.
Yeah.
And there's just no way around it. It's going to be horrible in the new year.
Yeah, we're seeing that around Phoenix for sure.
Yeah, we're not here to talk about the horrible.
Well, I mean, and I want to bend your ear a lot, JR, while you're here. But Scott, before you go, I do want to hear about your music project. It sounds like you dropped. I was actually last night. I was trading texts with Scott and giving my daughter a bath at the same time. So I'm like, all right, I want to be invested in both of these things at the same time. But you said something about like an Ozzy Osbourne. And I was like, okay, I gotta ask. I mean,
a couple of projects right now. I'm the bass player for Evan Diamond and the Library, which you can find at evandiamondmusic.com or on Spotify. Look for Evan Diamond. And she is a very powerful singer. She comes from a singer-songwriter background. She was doing everything herself. And then she wound up in a band with a bunch of rockers, and her sound has changed dramatically. It's still not like crazy metal, but it's very Journey-ish, kind of Journey meets the Killers, I guess you'd call it. So that's very fun. And then since we're in the lockdown and that band is not kind of enabled, so the guitarist and I, Severiano Wada, who's by Sevi Wada, who's just this ridiculous shredding metal guitar player, we have started a project called Super Weapon, and it is all separate. So we will never get together to record. If things change, maybe someday we'll play, but it's really fun because everything is being done distantly, and I'm writing the lyrics for this. So of course the lyrics are in the tradition of Ozzy. The singer is a paranoid schizophrenic psychotic who also has visions of aliens and demons visiting him from time to time and robs him. So it's that classic Ozzy, tongue in cheek. I'm so evil. Also, everyone has so much fun at my concerts, and sometimes they bring the kids. That kind of late 80s metal.
So you're covering the entire career of Ozzy, basically.
I think so. Yeah, the entire career of Ozzy. And Ozzy,
from flinging the meat into the crowd to somebody throwing a pig's head up onto the stage.
Yeah, I'm such
a cow's head. Yeah,
huge Ozzy fan, and how he got to capture that kind of, that dark one persona while he was still, kind of a happy-go-lucky guy enjoying life. And then when the whole Osbournes thing hit, you're like, this is just phenomenal. What a phenomenal talent. So that's what when we finally have something out, I'll holler.
Yeah, I happen to know some good metal journalists, so I hope you'll hit us up so we can.
I will hit you for sure. I was stunned, I say, to find out that the no band, as far as I can tell, let the name Super Weapon. I'm like, that's an obvious late 80s, early 90s band name. And we were delighted.
So that's what.
Oh, we're getting other sounds. Yeah, no, that's a killer name. That is a killer name. No, definitely. Yeah, let me and Rich know. We'll definitely we'll spread the Sigler if that's allowed.
Spread the Sig. Spread the Sig.
All right, everybody. Thanks for having me on. You guys rock, and good luck. And let me know if I can help promote it.
Scott, I hope I see you soon. I hope I get to check out the new digs one of these days soon.
All right, buddy.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Cool. Good seeing you, man. Thanks. And then there were three. Although we've got another guy in the wings. We got I'll let him surprise everyone when he jumps in. It's actually someone that all three of us know.
Rob Halford?
I've got a story. So JR, I want to get to you. I got it. Rich, you know this story.
All right. Is it a mango story?
No, we've got to get to some Matt Mango stories too. But no.
Oh God.
So I'll tell the story really quickly, and then I'm gonna shut the fuck up a little bit and let you guys talk. But so a couple of years ago, I took my daughter to a birthday party in Scottsdale, Arizona, sunny Scottsdale, Arizona. I was in this gated community. It's some rich friend of hers, a really beautiful house, and we're there, and the parents were just chatting with the parents, like, oh yeah, the Scorpions live in our neighborhood. They're a couple of doors down. I was like, oh, that's really cool. I got to tell Rich that. It's because Rich and I we talk a lot about this metal stuff. So then. Next time I talked to Rich a couple days later, I'm like, hey, Rich, I got this story to tell you. He's like, oh yeah, I got a story. Hang on. I said, all right, yeah, you go first, and I'll tell my story. And then Rich says, so I went into New York City the other day, and I listened to the new Judas Priest album in the same room with Rob Halford. And he's like, so what's your story? I'm like,
you're like, who cares now?
Yeah, I was like, never mind. Don't worry about it.
I should have gone first.
Yeah, like I was in the same neighborhood as where the Scorpions live, as opposed to sitting in the room hanging out with Rob Halford, covering the brand new Priest album. So I mean, that's
I forgot about that. I totally grandstanded you.
Right, it was just the two of us on the phone. Thank God, because otherwise it was almost like a sitcom moment. It was like, oh yeah, just don't worry about it. The Scorpions are a huge deal, but being in their neighborhood.
I had that moment about an hour and a half ago. I sent you the picture, Jack. I was telling one of my buddies, "Hey, I'm hanging out on this call, watching this video, and Bobby Blitz from Overkill is on there." And my friend sends me a picture of him and Bobby Blitz at NAMM, going, "Yeah, I hung up with them for a couple hours at NAMM." I'm like, "You suck." I'm just happy to see him.
No, he was great. It was great having Bobby Blitz on. And Bobby Blitz, I hope you don't think I was saying you're a meathead, because he seemed to run with that. I was just saying how people have this idea that all of us in metal are a bunch of meatheads, and he's actually super intelligent guy.
It's the furthest thing from the truth.
Watching him try and turn off his phone was entertaining, though.
That was great. Yeah, that was great.
No, he perfect showman. He made a moment out of it. So that was good stuff. Yeah. But JR, I mean, it's good seeing you, man. I mean, I've had everyone come on, should pimp their stuff. So pimp what you're up to these days.
I'm actually in a bit of a trough at the moment with what I'm working on. I have gone back and I've re-edited every book I've written, all 17 of them, which took quite some time. And I'm currently in a rereading process of rereading and cataloging every character, every ship, every space station, everything that happens and all the major events. What I'm trying to do is I have 5 books that I have written that I haven't published yet. And I'm trying to get all of those out with the original works that I did. And I'm working on 3 different series at the same time, which would be V&A Shipping, which a lot of people know me from because that was my first Patio book, shortly after Scott Sigler and the rest came out with theirs. And then I have the Giant Robot Planetary Competition, which is 1,000 robots descend on a planet and they fight to the death for the mineral rights of that planet. And then I've got Almost Superheroes, which is the gods are not gods. They're actually aliens, and superheroes are the descendants of these aliens. But all three of them tied together in the same universe. And I'm building up to a grand trilogy that'll be a military sci-fi trilogy. And it'll be the whole story arc across all 15 books will be one large story arc. So it'll be 4 books in V&A Shipping, 4 books in Almost Superheroes, 4 books in the Giant Robot series, and then a trilogy, military sci-fi trilogy. So I've got it over halfway done. And it's just a matter of getting everything cataloged so I don't go back and go, oh, what the hell was the name of that ship? What was the name of this character that I wanted to bring back? Which I'm noticing as I'm going through. I tried really hard in all my cataloging when I'm writing the books to keep a running itinerary. If I wrote a character, I try to keep track of their name and what the character looked like. And I'm going through going, oh my God, when did they introduce this character? What do they look like? I have no idea. Are they tall, thin, short, fat? So it's an interesting going back through all that. But definitely I'm anxious to get back into the writing. As Scott said, it's audiobooks is where it's at. And I know I need to get back into recording as well. So I did build a new computer back in December so I can do a lot more recording and editing. And when I compress a file, instead of taking 15 to 20 minutes to do one filter and then wandering away and coming back going, did that ever finish? Now I click a button, it takes about 30 seconds. I'm like, oh, I'll do the next filter. It's absolutely amazing. But beyond that, I'm also working on trying to get a YouTube channel up and running, and my favorite daughter is helping me with that. I'm going to be doing 60-second reviews, basically 1-minute reviews. 1 minute because you're busy and I'm not that interesting. So I'm going to review movies, books, music, whatever I consume. I'm going to review it and get these reviews out there. So I'm working on a 10-10-20 launch, which I think will be a clever date, but I'm going to try and get the first 10 dropped on that first day and then release one a day for as long as I can keep it up.
So a cool name for your show would be Backseat Producers. That's what I'm going to suggest.
Hey, it's actually going to be the Murdock Minute.
I like
1 minute reviews. So
nice.
I like it. But anyway, that was my my segue. I don't want to. I want to hear more. I don't want to.
Yeah, I pointed the wrong way. That's what.
Yeah, I do have to introduce the man, the myth, the legend, Tony Mast, who I've also known for almost as long as I've known these other guys. One of the first people to do a parody of me. But that's not why we're friends.
I did that, didn't I?
Yeah, and Rich and Tony, you guys know each other. You know, we've talked around the Metal Asylum and around the years. But yeah, Tony Mast, thank you for popping in. I mean, this is what this is a nice surprise that you're here and able to join us and talk Am I Evil and the metal. I mean, again, we didn't really geek out. We talked a lot of business, but between the four of us, we could geek out for the next 6 hours about metal. But yeah, no, I mean, thanks, Tony, for joining us.
No, I'm just glad to help. I'm excited for the project. I'm a comic book guy. I'm a metal guy. I'm a Jack Mangan fan. So yeah, it's like the trifecta here. Yeah, it's great. I'm excited for it.
Are either one of you guys Diamond Head fans or a fan of that song?
Oh, big time! Hell yeah!
I've heard the song. Honestly, I hadn't really heard Diamond Head music. I'm aware of them, but hadn't heard their music until I specifically listened for this project.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, we had them on. Rich and I talked to Diamond Head, last week, and what I said to them, I wasn't just blowing smoke for them. I mean, Diamond Head they've had 4 of their songs covered by Metallica, so clearly they're important to the biggest band in the world. But they have their catalog is really rich.
Yeah.
I saw an interesting interview with McGovney, and he's like, yeah, Lars just did an interview saying Iron Maiden was their biggest influence. He's like, no, Diamond Head was 100% the biggest influence of the band. And he said, as you just said, that's reflected on the fact that they've covered 4 Diamond Head songs, but they've never covered an Iron Maiden song, except that little snippet of and that was it.
I thought they did Remember Tomorrow, but everybody's done Remember Tomorrow.
I think that was later on, though. That wasn't in their early years.
Sure.
Yeah.
But Yeah, no, JR, I mean, maybe that's a good setup for you. Again, I don't want to cut off your own self-promotion, but I know you had a really cool thing to talk about with the song "Am I Evil?" about its the 7 parts, and so I'll kind of give you the stage if you want to kind of do your this is your TED Talk moment, I guess.
Oh, wow. The pressure. It was years and years ago that I remember this interview. And by years and years, I mean like maybe 10 years ago that I saw an interview with a couple of the guys from Diamond Head. And they were talking about how when they wrote it over a series of years. It wasn't like they just went to the studio, cut it, and they were done. It actually took them, I want to say 2 or 3 years to write the whole song. And the whole concept was there's 7 movements in the song, and each movement is representative of one of the planets. And the beginning, you got that initial march, and that march is for Mars. And that's because he's the god of war. And that's what the buildup is that initial buildup. And each movement is for a different planet. And it was one of those interesting things. It's like, I never really thought that it had, 7 movements for the whole thing. And the way it just ebbs and flows into those different sections, rising and falling. And one of the fascinating things is after they got done mentioning that, the interviewer was like, well, why don't you just write another song just like that? And they're like, not how it works.
Yeah.
Right. To say to Paul McCartney, hey, just write another Hey Jude. Just go ahead. Go take 20 minutes and write another one. Yeah.
Telling the dead milkman, just write another punk rock girl. You'll be famous.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. I mean, and it is, well, of course, in the opening, I mean, Brian Tyler has said the opening is directly inspired by the Holst classical piece, Mars, the Bringer of War. So yeah, it's all there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm hitting it a little bit. We're almost at 3 hours. So you guys, I'm going to tell. I mean, Tony, I know you've talked we talked a lot about Queensryche.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember, I remember kind of getting psyched for the Queensryche show because I knew I was gonna go and cover it, and then I saw you post about it when they went through your city, and like, yeah, they did it, and M156, and I was like, holy shit, this is because I'd never heard them do that song live before, so that was a big deal. But I know you've some other bands I know you're into. I mean, we can geek out on Queensryche all night, but I know you've talked about Marillion. Rich, I don't know if we've ever talked about Marillion. I mean, they're definitely sort of
they're prog rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. Just this past weekend, they did their couch convention, and I spent a good bit of time watching some of that. They do every 2 years. They do convention weekends in different cities, mostly in Europe, but they've come to Canada a few times where they take over a weekend and they play 3 concerts in 3 nights, different songs each night. Normally they pick one night and do a full album. They bring in supporting acts. Sometimes they're inspired by Marillion or they're cover acts. They knew they couldn't do that next year, so they decided they're going to do a couch convention, just an at-home convention, and they put up on their YouTube feed. They put on supporting acts, so they did some smaller supporting acts, and they just had them each do one song. Then they played one of their recorded concerts, and they just released it on YouTube. And they did that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Nice. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was very cool. And like for their Saturday supporting acts, they did their own solo projects, so they could kind of pimp their own solo projects. So it was pretty neat. They're actually kind of groundbreaking in terms of some of the stuff they did before a lot of people did it. They were doing crowdfunding of albums years before things like Bandcamp and sites like that.
Nice. Yeah, I think I know a lot of the old school metal guys. I know that Marillion is a big, and actually I remember seeing their videos on Headbangers Ball, and I guess not Headbangers Ball, but the Heavy Metal Mania that was on before that.
Right.
So, I mean, they've always been. They're kind of like Rush. They've always been around. Like you'll see their videos and hear them included in metal circles. So yeah, I mean, definitely. a band that merits and is worthy of respect. And yeah, the fact that they're still going, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean they're still making music. They're still touring. I was able to see them. It's been a couple of years, but they don't come to the States that often. I've been able to see them a couple times in Chicago. I have to travel to Chicago from St. Louis to see them because they only hit a couple of cities. But I've been able to, and I'm fortunate every time I am. But yeah, then there's Queensryche and Dream Theater and Fate's Warning and yeah, that whole subset there of like the progressive rock metal.
Mm-hmm.
I made a joke on Facebook a while ago. I'd gone to the gym and I did a workout for an hour, and I'm like, yeah, I did a workout, listened to some Dream Theater, made it through 3.5 songs.
Yeah.
And my buddy responded back going, "Oh, so you got through some of their short songs?"
Right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
It was the intro, right?
Yeah.
I had about a 25-minute commute to work, and this was years ago, and I get in the car and start Season of Change, and like would be pulling into work just as the song's over, like that one. So just one song.
Yep.
That's a great cool album too. I like that album.
Yeah, it is. It's really neat.
Yeah, I decided I wanted to try learning a Dream Theater song, and the only one I could find online that had tablature with it was Glass Person, and I'm like, it starts out. I'm like, oh, this isn't so bad. I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah, the John Petrucci is pretty good.
Oh, it's amazing, and it's one of the Glass Person is one of those. It's just a slowly building song that just keeps on adding layer upon layer, and it's pretty impressive.
Did any of you guys get to go see when they did Images and Words in its entirety a couple years ago?
Oh, I wish I had.
No, I missed out on that one, but I did get to see, I took my son last year to see Scenes from a Memory, where they did Scenes from a Memory in its entirety, and that was something very cool.
I got to see the Images one in New Jersey. They did a show.
Oh, I bet that was amazing.
Yeah, it was. That's my favorite album still by them.
Yeah.
I got a few others I really like, but that still is I think my favorite.
But I was going to say also, and absolutely no disrespect, Dream Theater are incredible. They're one of the pillars of metal, prog metal. But I've seen Petrucci solo a bunch of times, and that's, to me, I really geek out on that. I've seen G3 every time I can, and seeing Petrucci solo, and I've seen another guy in that same category. I've seen Jeff Loomis solo, and it's just I just love it. I eat that shit up. Just great stuff. So if you ever get a chance to see, and of course, that's good. John Petrucci does have a brand new solo album out with Portnoy. He and Portnoy are back together, and it's just killer stuff. I mean, it's exactly what you'd expect, which is brilliant. I mean, the guy you can kind of do no wrong on guitar. Is just incredible. One of the all-time greats, honestly, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Petrucci's, or not Petrucci, but Portnoy's work product lately has just been incredible. Like 36 albums in 10 years, I think is what I heard.
Oh, he's a workaholic. And
yeah.
Not only that, he's also got a whole video series, I think it's on Netflix, about how to play drums. And it's like a Bandcamp type of thing where he's just doing some simple instructions. And the whole first 30 minutes is just him with the bass pedals going here. And it's like intense theory. And it's like, you're just watching him play and you don't think about the theory behind it. But watching him, just like I said, I think he spent 30 minutes just on the pedals, on the kick pedals, and showing the 5 different pedals that he had for each foot. And I'm like, wait, there's only one for each bass drum and a hi-hat, and that's it. But yeah, it's just crazy, the stuff he was going through into the layers of theory on that.
Well, and it goes back to what we talked about with Blitz earlier. I mean, super intelligent guys. I mean, these guys are really, these are not fucking meatheads. These guys are really intelligent. We get this stigma in the metal world, really just mind blowing, and just the dedication and the passion for it is it's mind blowing.
Yeah.
Well, and just the range too, because I'm a Spock's Beard fan from way back, and when he started teaming up with Neil Morris on everything that Neil Morris is in. Also, that because both of them together have put out a ton of shit together. Transatlantic and Flying Colors and the Neil Morris band stuff. It's and even that is kind of all over the board as far as the type of music that they're playing there.
Yeah, I didn't know that. We covered a couple of years ago on Metal Asylum. We covered their final album. Did you hear? It's basically a best of, but then they added one new song, which is funny. It's like, oh, we'll throw in one more track. We'll just throw out this one thing, and it's like a 20+ minute song. As every single member who's ever been in Spock's Beard plays something on this 20-minute epic, and honestly, it's one of their best songs.
Yeah.
So they went out on top. It's called "Falling Forever."
Yep.
If you've heard it, if you've not heard it, just carve out a few minutes and sit down. And listen.
It's really good, and there's even I'm blanking on the name of it. It's a project of some of the other guys that were in Spock's Beard, and it is Spock's Beard's mini-me. I mean, it's more Spock's Beard. It's not the same band, but it's more along that same line. Like the first time somebody asked me to describe the music, especially the first couple of albums, it was like think of psychotic circus music, and that's really the at least musically that's the best way I can describe it.
Kind of when I think of Panic at the Disco or Falling in Reverse, they're like that psychotic circus music. It's just they're very about the show, and I've seen a couple of their videos, and I'm not huge into their music. I can listen to it and it's fine. My favorite daughter introduced me to it, and it's like, okay, well, I can listen to this a lot better than Justin Bieber. But when you see their videos, they're all about the production, all about what's going on the stage, and it's pretty intense.
Yeah, I took my oldest daughter to see Panic at the Disco, so I've actually seen Panic at the Disco in concert. So there you go. So don't punch my metal card. Yeah, I've seen it. But I took my daughter to see him. So
I learned a couple Panic at the Disco songs on bass just to show my daughter, hey, look, I can play this one.
Right. Well, and the one is Rock Lobster. The one is like I'm listening to the song as in the car with my daughter, going like, wait a minute, this is Rock Lobster.
I know. I don't know the name of the song, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, because I was listening to going, wait, and I actually stopped the song, got my, we're at a stoplight, and I got my phone out, and I'm like, I got to find this song right away. And I play it, and she's like, doesn't sound anything like that. And no, it really does.
Right. So, well, if you guys, I'm going to take a couple of minutes. One of our artists is going to join us for the last couple of minutes here. We're almost at time, which is unbelievable that we made it all this time, that I've sat here all this time. I thought I was going to be up and down, but bladder of steel. But let me go and take a look at what we've done in our first 7 hours. We've raised $1,434. We've got 8 backers, and so that's a good start. We're 23% towards our goal, so that's exciting.
That's fantastic.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. And if you're watching the third hour here, then please do help this project. Like I said, with what's nice about IndieGoGo is that if we cut it off today and stop right there, we can make something with that. I mean, we can't make much with that amount, but we can make something. But we got to get to the 6,000 is the first goal, and as I said, we got to think the stretch goal of 7,000 is where I shave this thing off. So
and we should really talk through those when you get back through your goals, because I know that's one thing you haven't discussed at all is the campaign. What are people getting? What's going on with it? And go drain your bladder, and we'll talk about that when you get back.
Well, no, my bladder's still good. My bladder can take it.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'll just sit here and do the dance. No, I'm kidding. I'm good.
Grab a rubber band. You'll be fine.
But no, it's like I said, no, I'm all good. Well, let's stop talking about that so that I don't suddenly need to go. But so we actually have 10 tiers, and actually J.R. Murdock, he is a wise man and a good guy. So he's a wise guy. But he kind of helped me to realize, maybe we should rethink this. So we have tier 1 is for $1 donation. You'll get a mention on social media, just a thank you. Tier 2 is for $5, and you will get, what will you get? You will get
the digital
copy. Tier 3 for $15, you will get all these things you'll get a mention on social media. You'll also get a digital copy of what we put out, and you'll get a printed version. And again, you're kind of, maybe it's a little bit of a gambling game, because if we, like I said, if we raise nothing, then we're going to put out something small. But if we raise a lot, it's going to be something pretty big. So for $15, you'll get something. You'll get, depending on how it goes, you'll get something pretty nice for your buck. Something, if we hit our maximum goal, I mean, something that will retail for double that on the shelf. So that's such a deal, such a bargain. Oh fuck! I clicked the wrong thing. Oh, I'm donating to my own campaign. That's not what I want.
Quit donating to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I can.
There's no sin there, but
right, I can pleasure myself later. Anyway, so the tier 4 for $25. I'll go through this quickly. I've already drained all the fun out of this. For tier 4, you'll get all that stuff, and also, so that's the digital copy, print version. You'll also get an audiobook, and if we can hit our stretch goal, we'll make custom guitar picks, and you'll get your name on a thank you page in the book. Tier 5 for $50, you will get all that fun stuff, and a personalized MP3 of the promo song, which I did. Which actually I'll touch on that when I'm done reading all these off. Tier 6, I've already bored you all to death. Hang on. Tier 6, all that same stuff, and you'll be in the Diamond supporter section of our book. That's a special section of the book. That's for $100. For $200, you get all that fun stuff. And so I should reorganize this. You get I don't know, you get more things. That's for $200. You do get more. I think you get a t-shirt. We'll get a Am I Evil t-shirt. Bear in mind, I've also been going at this for 3 hours, so I'm a little fuzzy. For tier 8, you will get an autographed print edition. Tier 9, all the same stuff. Tier 9 is for $500. Oh, and you can be. Some of these will be limited. For the special thing you'll get at tier 9 for $500 is you can appear as an extra in the book. You might die, or you might get killed off, but
be one of the 27.
Yeah,
getting killed is always cool.
Yeah, and then last but not least, tier 10 is the diamond head named tier. That'd be if you give us $1,000, you can get a t-shirt. You'll get a special tier 10 t-shirt, and you'll be on the elite page. Your name will be up. We can't call you a creator, but your name will be up in the creator section with the rest of us. So that's that. So yeah, and actually I left it out. Those are the tiers. We also have stretch goals. The stretch goals are, well, I mean, we kind of covered most of that. I mean, some of these things, like I said, if we do the podcast, we can't guarantee there will be a podcast audio version, but if we hit a stretch goal, then we'll get there. And like I said, at $8,000, I will shave this ridiculous thing. And then actually, I cannot drop the name, but we've talked to a very amazing artist, someone who's really, really high up in the metal world and got a lot of prestige and esteem. We'll get one of their prints as part of the project. It's not going to be a cover because we've got that cover. We have an amazing team who I have not name dropped them because we've been going all night. But yeah, I mean, so we've got some other cool shit for the stretch goals. So
yeah.
So and I think we've got Derek Ma is one of our artists. I think he's going to try and join us. I think he's trying to get on to join us. I know we're almost at time. We've been going for 3 hours, but I'll hang around a little longer to give him a chance to jump in and also wrap up our conversation. I don't want to cut us off short. And actually, according to our ticker, we've been going for 2 hours and 49 minutes. So maybe we'll go another 10 minutes if you guys have it in you. I've got it in me if you do.
Oh, I haven't been on that long, so I'm good.
I haven't been on that long, but I've been watching.
Take a pee break, so I'll be right back.
See,
I couldn't last 3 hours. I gotta go.
We appreciate the information.
Yeah,
I'm dying here.
My bladder wins. But see, now that we talked about it, I'm going to go too. But no, I'm kidding. So yeah, as I say, hopefully Derek Ma will join us. So let me do that. Let me really quickly drop the names of everyone on the team. Of course, Rich is part of our team. got Derek Ma, who's an incredible artist, he's a Canadian artist who's just done some. He did something called Sharkosaurus, which is a neat little Canadian book. But I mean, when I say, I don't mean that to diminish it. It's a really cool little projects. He's done some Sherlock Holmes covers. He's just done some great stuff, and what he's done for Am I Evil is incredible. We got another Canadian named James F. Beveridge, who's won a bunch of Aurora awards. Again, super talent. He's done a lot of the main image that a lot of people have seen of our Am I Evil book. He's done that with our hero with the 2 axes. Again, he's not really a hero, but our protagonist with the 2 bloody axes. We've got, of course, Cheyenne Wright was on earlier. He's part of the project. Cheyenne Wright, just as you know, I've admired his artwork for as long as I've known him. These guys are amazing, and he's won Hugo Awards. And then Richard P. Clark is the last but not least, is part of our project too. He's done work on some, basically you name the publisher, he's done images for them. He's done work for all the major comics companies, Marvel, DC, all of them, and he's also done for big magazines. He's worked for Sports Illustrated, I think Sports Illustrated Kids, and Playboy magazine. He didn't pose, he drew stuff for them, but yeah. So that's our team, and you know, I'm just me. I'm doing my thing, and I'll as we mentioned earlier, I'm hoping that we can hit the stretch goals far enough so that we can do an audio version, because I mean, we talked about it with Scott Sigler. It'd be fun to kind of step back in and write an audio script and do a podio book, if you will, of Am I Evil. And of course, it's all accompanying. You know, I kind of check to make sure that we're going to be compliant with our license, and we will be, because it's all going to feed the comic. So actually, if you can contradict that, then go ahead and tell me, like, hey, you're way out of line. That's contradicting your license. But I think we're good. I've read it, I've poured over it, and we're good. So that is some information about the project. If you have any questions or anything, jump on. We've still got 6 eyeballs on us right now. We've had people watching all throughout the night. If you have any questions, jump on the chat and fire away. I mean, it's kind of, you gentlemen were nice enough to add lots of chat content.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I'm a fan, so I just wanted to kind of participate in what was going on in the chat, and then Jack invited me on here as well. So, all
right, and I'm gonna tell Derek that the clock is ticking, because we probably will wrap in about 7 minutes or so. But yeah, let's so that's the information about the project I can kind of get out there. What else? You guys want to just geek out about music, or tell us? Actually, let me do this. Let's do this. We'll go around, maybe the 4 of us, talk about what you're listening to right now. I'll kind of start and say I'm listening to. There's actually a new album which I'm not sure I'm going to recommend. I'm not sure about. I don't know if it's your cup of tea, but I really am digging it. Is the new album by Ascension of the Watchers. I think I'm saying that right. And it's actually Burton Bell from Fear Factory. It's his. It's a side project of his. He doesn't do any growls. It's all clean vocals, but it's also not really as heavy. It's. I was thinking, like, who can I compare this to? And I was like, there's a little bit of Sisters of Mercy in there. So if you want to hear, it's not out yet. I'm listening to it I'm going to do a review, but I keep your eye out for that one. It's really a cool project. Ascension of the Watchers, Burton Bell from Fear Factory doing. Like I said, I'm not going to pigeonhole it and say it's exactly like Sisters of Mercy, because there's metal to it, and it's across the board a little bit. There's at times I'm like, yeah, there's a little bit of The Cure, but that's I mean, I'm always listening to a lot of things all at once, but that's the one that's stuck in my head right now, because I was listening to it earlier in the day. So so I don't know. I mean, Rich, what do you got playing in your head right now, or in your CD player, your MP3 player?
The newest Striper album.
Ooh, I didn't even realize they had a new one out. When did that come out?
It's out already. Came out this past week.
Yeah, like a couple of days ago. Like, yeah, it's brand new.
Yeah,
I'm way behind.
They're just consistently putting out great new music. Their last 4 albums have been great. My favorites. The new one's really cool. It hasn't grown on me enough, but Fallen and Goddamn Evil, the one after that, within the last 5 years, I'd say 5, 6, 7 years, have been great. If you like their classic stuff from the 80s, it's like Soldiers Under Command meets To Hell with the Devil.
I got a buddy who's a big Striper fan, and he didn't tell me about that one. I'm going to get on him.
It's so good. They still got the great heavy guitars. They got the twin guitar melodies. Michael Sweet still sings his ass off. He gets the highs in it still. I mean, they haven't lost any of their balls.
Oh, they always had some great medleys. Just some of those, the double solos. It's like, holy cow, how are they doing that?
Yeah, and they're still their new music's as good as their old stuff.
The Yellow and Black Attack.
But I think, I mean, Rich is more of a, but they're heavy. I mean, I think some of the stuff I've heard from them the past couple of years is heavier than anything they've did in the past.
Yes.
Like Take It to the Cross is the heaviest song I know of from Striper. Maybe you can name a heavier one, but that's. I mean,
I'd say it's up there with. I'd say it's right there with The Writings on the Wall. If you know that one from In God We Trust, that's a real heavy one too.
I know the album. I don't. I'll go back and listen. I'll do my homework. But
yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll just go around the horn. JR, what are you listening to right now?
Well, the one I had playing today, just because it came up on shuffle, and I'm like, I got to listen to the whole album, was Borkniar, True North. Their album came out last year. I discovered them a couple of years ago, and I thought it was Borknagar, and I'm like, wow, that's a really funny name. And I told my friend, yeah, I discovered this band, Borknagar, and he's like, do you mean Borkniar? That's like, oh, okay. Funny name, awesome music. Really do dig their stuff. They're hard to explain. They're kind of your Norwegian black metal, just solid music.
It's a little more melodic, though, right?
It's not your grinding in your face kind of death metal, but it's that's what I'm saying. It's more black metal than death metal, so it's not.
Charge on my phone's dying.
But definitely some good stuff. Some of that Swedish, Norwegian, I forget exactly where they're from, but yeah, they're good stuff.
Nice.
Very good.
Yeah, all right. Tony, I thought of another one that I can't not mention, but I'm not going to jump. I'm not going to jump in line. So I'll go a second time. No, I want to hear yours, Tony. I insist.
Well, lately, I mean, normally I just kind of jump around, but one of the things that came up, based on a conversation that was had on the Metal Asylum Facebook page, the Warrant album, Dog Eat Dog, was out there. That they kept brought up. And I went back and listened to it again, which I listen to it pretty regularly. I really do love that album. So I was listening to that. And then on Friday, I was listening to, I was telling you about the Couch Convention, the Marillion thing. And one of their supporting artists was a band called The Siberium. And they're out of Chicago. I heard one song and I was like, I'm going to go check them out. So I added a couple of their albums to YouTube Music and was listening to those through the weekend also. It's good stuff. I'm
so glad somebody paid attention to that Warrant post. I love
it. Warrant gets some flack for a few of the songs that they did, but they're so much deeper.
Oh, yeah.
And by the time Dog Eat Dog came out, it was like they completely reinvented themselves.
I've been preaching that for years.
Yeah.
I was one of those. Yeah, I'll confess that when Cherry Pie came out, I'm like, I'm never going to listen to this bubblegum crap. You know what? I was wrong. You go back and listen to the rest of that album, and it is a kick-ass metal album from that era. Exactly. And that was a throwaway song. They needed a song to fill the album, and they literally, I remember the story, they wrote it on the back of a pizza box and said, here, let's just go record this and get it done. And that was the one that the company ran with, and it was really unfortunate for them at the time.
Yeah, it was. And I saw them in concert in '91 in St. Louis, the same venue that Guns N' Roses had the riot in. The Warrant Trickster Firehouse.
Great tour.
Followed the Guns N' Roses tour. It was like literally like 2 or 3 days after the riot. Like they had just gotten done putting the venue back together, and they toured there, and like Janie Lane runs on stage, and part of the riot happened because somebody was taking pictures, he runs on stage with a camera in his hand, threw it at the crowd. He said, "Take all the fucking pictures you want." and like they get to the end of the night and they still hadn't played Cherry Pie, and he's like, "You guys are really gonna make me play this fucking song, aren't you?" And it was like their second encore, and he was like, "All right, I'm only gonna do it if I have a bra." And like bras were going up on stage, and he put this, and he grabbed one, and I can't even imagine because he wrapped it around his head and like wore it like a helmet, like a Viking helmet.
Total Weird Science moment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that was a fun show. That was a really, really fun show all around.
Nice. Yeah, Rich, you and Tony, and JR too, for sure. Yeah, you guys definitely have a lot of musical commonality. And actually, I will say the one band that I was a hater, and Rich absolutely showed me the error of my ways was Kip Winger, man. The guy is legit. You know, I know that first album, I still will say I can't defend the first album. I can defend Red Beach playing. I can't defend the album, but I can defend
the song. It's not the album; it's the song. You got to get past 17. If you can't get past 17, then you're just being stuck.
And Madeleine, you know, I've heard the album. I've listened to the album.
Madeleine's awesome.
I do. I like Madeleine too.
But I mean, the stuff he said beyond there, like I'm here though. Like I said, I'm here actually to defend the guy. So Kip, if you're watching, you know, we're defending you. You're like, people should get over, you know, the rough. Yeah, call us, Kip. But yeah, I mean, people should get over their preconceptions because the guy can write.
His solo stuff is just it. Some of it is really heartbreaking. It's really heartbreakingly beautiful. His solo stuff is, but he wrote it like after the death of his wife too. So like there's a reason for it.
Yeah, and their last 3 albums have been great.
Yeah,
Better Days Coming, Karma, and the fourth one before that. I can't think of the title right now, but their last 3 albums have been great too, and they're a harder band and a little more metal than everybody thinks they are.
Yep. There's a lot of bands that came out of the 80s that were like that were considered hair metal, but it was only because the studios made them put out that 1 or 2 songs that were the hits. Right. And those are the ones that everyone listened to and like, never listen to this again. And really go back to the 80s. Listen to some of the hair metal that you hated. Go back and listen to the whole album. And that's something that I've been doing a lot recently, which is why I want to start reviewing stuff is I went back and instead of just listening to a song or 2, listen to the whole album because the album is a compilation of what they did. And it's amazing how many there's all run into where it's like, wait, this is actually like a whole story in this whole album. And it's interesting to find that and go back and re-experience that and realize, you know what? Back in the day, it was Slayer, Metallica, Anthrax, anything else. You all suck. You know what? I missed out on a lot of great music from the day. I really did.
I listened to it all. I bought Bon Jovi and Motley Crue, and I bought Slayer and Megadeth and Overkill and Iron Maiden and Priest and Dio. It didn't matter to me. It was all metal. It all rocked hard. It had that edge. It was all good.
Yep.
You know what I didn't like was stuff that was aimed at MTV. That's why I'm not going to defend Poison. I'll defend Cinderella. I'll defend I'll defend Rat. Those first 3 Rat releases because it was
Rat was freaking incredible.
2 albums are
they wore the spandex, but they were a serious metal band.
Right. Yeah. First 3, and again, I like Hysteria, but the first 3 Def Leppard albums are just masterpieces. I mean, I'll defend all of that stuff. And like I said, I did not like it when they kind of sold out, when they went commercial, when songs were just shitty ballads that were just intended to play on MTV. That's where they lost me. And
Poison was one of those hair metal bands that was an MTV band. That was all they were. That's all they were. And musically, the songs weren't that impressive either. That was what really turned me off on them.
There's a slight but with them, though. I agree. But if you listen to the first album, Look What the Cat Dragged In, it's definitely a glam metal album. Those riffs are pretty heavy. It's not, Talk Dirty to Me is not, but if you listen to the other tracks, like we've been saying about these other bands, it's definitely great glam metal. Obviously, they became much more slick with the next few records. They weren't maybe as musicianship-wise as good as the other bands. But if you're looking for a good, fun glam metal album, I think Look What the Cat Dragged In is great.
I will say this, that one of the funnest concerts I went to was Kix, Great White, and Poison. It was just a fun concert.
Kicks are awesome. That's another band.
To me, they blew everybody off the stage. Great White was really good. Poison put on a show, and that's what you could tell they were an MTV band because it was all about the show and the production. We sat in the front row throwing pennies at CC DeVille. You suck, just because that was the way we were. We were there for Kix and Great White. We weren't there for Poison, but we had managed to push our way to the front row. Got a pocket full of pennies. It's like, why not?
That's awesome.
I was a jerk back in the day. I won't deny it. But
so I got a quick story. So I saw actually with Rhett Hastings. You guys know Rhett Retro. So he and I saw. Oh, I'm so sorry. Janessa Press at Kotzen. He's amazing. Janessa, thank you for still being here. That's awesome.
He did one album with Poison.
Mm-hmm. But I was gonna say, so we saw a really heavy tour a couple of years ago. It was Baroness before they were known. So they were still heavy as fuck. Were one of the openers. High on Fire and Opeth were the headliners. And so it was a heavy show. It was a heavy night. And halfway through Opeth's set, Michael Ackerfeld, the front man for Opeth, he busts into the I Remember You riff. He starts just strumming "I Remember You" from Skid Row on his guitar. The whole place went like it was just dead silence. Like everyone's just staring in a horror. And then he gets on the mic and he says, "You know what? I saw Skid Row a couple of years ago. So I never banged my head so fucking hard at a concert." And again, there's just this shock went through the crowd. Everyone's like, oh. But
that's another thing. That's another thing too. Those bands, all the glam and the hard rock metal bands, they were all metal when they plugged in and they played live.
Oh yeah,
they were not light at all.
Right,
they're metal.
David Lopan says Kix's Cool Kids is actually pretty damn good.
It's cool. Yeah, it's fun. But Midnight Dynamite rocks. That
was the one that got me into them. Yeah, and I mean, it goes back to what we said earlier. I mean, and what we've said countless times since we've been doing this live stream. And musicians they care about music. Like. If you hear a good song, it doesn't matter if there's a saxophone in it. It doesn't matter if where it comes from. Like I will defend Elliott Smith. I'll defend James Jamerson to the death. I mean, these are some people that I respect beyond belief. So I mean, they're nowhere near the metal world, but I just love them to death. Like Stevie Wonder is one of the greatest musical artists of all fucking time, and he's nowhere near heavy metal. But
if you want to discover some fun metal, look into Viking metal, and you're getting some really interesting instruments that you would not consider a metal instrument. The violins, the accordions, the flutes, and it's like,
how is
this metal?
Like the pagan folk metal and the Viking metal, Ensiferum and Elaviti and Amon Amarth. There's a whole bunch of those bands.
Oh yeah. They're all freaking awesome. Like I said, back in the day, I really focused on nothing but thrash metal, but it probably was maybe 10 or 15 years ago. I'm like, you know what? Let me go back and rediscover some music. And like Jack's saying, I discovered all the music of the 80s that I just absolutely hated. Some of it I still can't stand. I'm still not a Madonna fan. I'm never really going to be big into Cyndi Lauper. But, Yaz was one of those bands, the Eurythmics. And it's like, wow, they're actually really freaking good. And you can see how they influenced other bands. And when you start getting, like you said, into some of the metal stuff that I just completely dismissed, a big mistake. It's really... I made a mistake. I'll admit that.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things that I did probably in the early 90s you could still find a lot of metal magazines, around then. And anytime there was a band that I really liked, I would go to their pages on the metal magazines because they always would talk about like who their influences were. And I always kind of made note of the influences. And whenever I saw the same name a couple of times, I'd go check them out, like regardless of what type of music it was. I became a huge Tori Amos fan because of all the mentions that Queensryche had of like four of the five band members were like, yeah, I'm listening to her stuff right now. So, okay, I wonder what this is about. So like I became a huge fan just because of that. It's very much not metal. But
she's incredible.
She is.
The Fire Girl Hotel album. I play that constantly. Love it. Love that album. And of course the first one.
Little Earthquakes. Yeah, I have Little Earthquakes just constantly on rotation. I listened to her audiobook, Resistance, that came out earlier this year, and it's really cool because she tells the story. She tells stories of like her musical career through songs. So she'll introduce lyrics to the songs, and it will tell a story that may or may not actually be the story of the song, but it's like the inspiration, where the inspiration came from for the lyrics, and how she became what she is. Like, virtuoso piano player at the age of 13, had already graduated high school. Like, it's just it was like going back and listening to her story, I was just astounded.
I'll check that out. I didn't know. So is it basically like an autobiography or through her songs, or is it something? What is it?
It's not an autobiography so much as it's a collection of stories in her life. So she tells of like the death of family members and how certain songs either were inspired by or became touch points to that time in her life. She talks about the early days when her father, who was a preacher, took her to DC and would finally found this side street and this bar that would agree to let this like 13, 14-year-old girl play piano at their bar. Turns out it was a gay bar, but it was like the only one that would let her play. And that's kind of where she cut her teeth in performing in front of audiences. But she also started playing in some of the bigger bars. So she was sitting in the room when in the mid 80s, all of these wheelers and dealers were coming into DC. Senators were meeting at these bars, and it was a piano bar. So
senators meeting at the gay bars.
Yeah, well, and some of them did that too.
Because they're hiding out. They don't. Yeah. They think it's the best place. No one's going to expect me here.
Right. But and she'd tell stories like she learned hundreds of songs in the course of a year because she'd come in, somebody would request a song. She said, "I don't know what that song is." She'd write it down. She said, "Come back next week," and she'd play it for him. Like she would know the song. She would learn those songs in that time. It's pretty cool. It's called Resistance. It's worth a read.
Excellent. Yeah. It's on my list. I'll put it on my actual list. But yeah, I mean, I dig books like that. I read Scott Ian's book not that long ago. I've read I don't know. My brain is falling out of my head. Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot. If you're into metal biographies, check out Dave Mustaine's. He's got a new one that just came out that I haven't read, but his previous one is really good. Check out Commando by Joey Ramone. He literally wrote it on his deathbed. One of the last chapters is like a month before he passed away. And he's like, I don't even know if I'm going to see this book in print, but I just want to let you guys know that, if it wasn't for my fans, I wouldn't have been here. Incredible book. There's so many good metal and punk autobiographies and biographies out there.
Yeah, Bruce Dickinson's is good. Actually, we talked to Michael Alago earlier this year, the guy who signed Metallica, and he's had an amazing life. And his documentary on Netflix is called "Who the Fuck Is That Guy?" So go watch his documentary. Fascinating guy.
I'm opening up Netflix right now. Don't make note of that.
Yeah, it's a great documentary. And like I said, I talked to him. He's a super guy, really nice guy. And it's a fascinating book about his time in New York.
It's a good movie too. It's a good movie on Netflix.
Yeah, and again, it's blowing away stereotypes. He told me when I talked to him, he said, "I've never seen a closet in my life." He's just very, very out. But he's best. He's good friends with people like Phil Anselmo, who again, these people get a bad rap. Like, he's just a redneck homophobe. Like, clearly not. He's friends with Michael Alago. Like, he's clearly more open minded than you think he is. Like that kind of thing. So
he projects an image, is what he does. Is what Phil does.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, so those are good books. And John Zazula's book I read last year was an excellent one. But yeah, I think Derek Ma is not going to make it so regrettably, I think we're not going to get him on. But
you said half an hour ago, only got 10 minutes. So
yeah, I think we're going to have to call it. But I would say, Rich, thank you for marathoning this with me.
Thanks guys for joining us. It was great.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
thanks for having us.
Definitely a marathon.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks to my family for tolerating me being away for for 3.5 hours. But yeah, thanks everyone.
Thanks to all of our guests. Thanks to everybody that's watching it, that will watch it, that will support Am I Evil, the graphic novel.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. You know, I saw we have a ninth backer, so we're creeping up on $1,500. So that is a great first day. We're at basically 24% of our goal on day number 1. So that's awesome. Please, help us spread the word, and we want to make sure that we put together something really great that's going to really, be worthy of Diamond Head's legacy, of Metallica's legacy, of the song's legacy. So, yeah, Am I Evil? Yes, I am. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, JR. Thank you, everyone who was here tonight.
Thanks, guys.
Everyone should go and check out those guys. And Rich and I do this every week, man. I mean, one of the other albums I was going to say I'm listening to a lot is the new Oceans of Slumber. We had on Dauber Oceans of Slumber a couple of weeks ago. Just a brilliant album. For me, so far, it's probably the best of the year. Brilliant band, brilliant people. He's a super nice guy. So check that out and watch. Like I said, Rich and I do this we don't do 3.5 hours every week.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But yeah, we do this every week. So be free, maybe we'll get Derek on for a future episode. So, yeah, thank you, Tony. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, everyone who was on tonight.
Thanks,
I don't want to name names because I'm afraid I'll leave out some, but I'm just blown away by the people who showed up for us tonight. Thank you, everyone. Great. Please do support the project. I'm going to be making noise every day for the next 40 days on social media. So, unfriend me if you don't want to see it, because I'm going to be making noise about it. But yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, guys. It's a great conversation. It was a great time.
All right, Jack, you're over 10% in the first few hours. You're doing awesome.
Yeah, exactly. First couple hours. So it's a good day. It's a good day 1. So
good start.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Congratulations on a great start.
Thank you, gentlemen. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, everyone out there in the chats. And I'm going to walk away. I'm going to stand up. So
stand up and get to the bathroom as fast as you can.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. Everyone have a good night.
Thanks.
Good night, guys.
Thank you again.